Hello there. I'm Kim Croker of Stampin' with Kim Arlene, and I am from just outside of Vancouver on the west coast of Canada. Today I am going to be showing you a card made with Irresistible Blooms, the stamp set, and it is an emboss resist technique and a thank you card. So let me just show those to you now. All right, so here's the card. This is a background made with blending brushes, and the stamp set is Irresistible Blooms, which is this one here. This is one of our online exclusives that you can get. I will put the link to my blog and also with all of the ordering links from my blog. Please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube video channel if you like my videos or if you're finding them helpful. I try and do lots of different techniques. This one, I have two different versions of the card. Same technique, same colors. It's just that this one here, I've used a lot more color. And I also did this texture emboss resist. I did a layer of Lost Lagoon, and then I stamped the texture dots, and then I added more color on top of that. So that just has kind of a very light Lost Lagoon look there, and lots of color, Orchid Oasis, Starry Sky. And this one here is lighter, and I put the texture dots on last. And I kind of like this effect too. It looks like just little water droplets. All right, so let's get started. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is to take a piece of basic white cardstock that is 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall, and I'm going to take my embossing buddy and just rub the whole surface with it to get rid of any oils that are on there so that I'm not going to get embossing powder where I don't want it to be. I've got my Versamark ink pad, and I've got the two flowers, the large and the next size from the Irresistible Blooms. I'm going to start with the big one, and I'm going to ink that up and put it in the bottom right corner. I'm going to leave that there while I ink up the next one so I have an idea of where it is, because you cannot really see it. This is a sticky ink that the embossing powder will stick to. And then I've got another leaf. Just going to put that up the edge, and I don't know if you can see that there. Probably not. Okay, just see if I can get that leaf quite close to the flower. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is to use some clear embossing powder and cover those flowers and leaves. And I try and get them a double coat, and I try not to get embossing powder everywhere, but it always goes everywhere, no matter how careful I seem to be. All right, don't know if you can see that either. All right, you will see that when I start heat setting it with my heat tool. Just check to make sure there's no blobs of powder where I don't want them to be. Something right there. Oh, okay. And I apologize for the noise here. And you can tell when this is set because you'll see the embossing powder melt and get shiny. Once that's done, just move on to a new spot. And just be sure to give it a check to make sure that all of it is shiny and that all of it has set. You should be able to see that that's a little bit shiny. And that was, as I mentioned, the Irresistible Bloom stamp set. and clear embossing powder and heat set. I'm then going to use some blending brushes, and I'm going to use, before I do that, I'm just going to give a bit of a wipe with a paper towel to get any of that embossing powder off my work surface. And I'm going to use Lost Lagoon, Orchid Oasis, and Starry Sky inks, starting with the Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to give this a bit of a light coat, except for the corners where I like to have a little bit more ink. And I also want to focus on the two sets of leaves to get that with the green, the Lost Lagoon. And this is an emboss resist technique. The ink will, the embossing will resist the ink, and so it will stay white there. White because it's on white paper, because it is a clear embossing powder. And this isn't too inky, so I don't have to be as careful as my darker colors, which I know are inkier, but I am trying as much as I can to either tap off on the paper or to start the ink on the paper, off the paper, and then work onto it so I don't get any big blobs. A little bit more green to these leaves. Now this is the larger of the blending brushes. We have them in two sizes, the large and the smaller ones. The smaller ones are packed away for a class, but here's one here so you can see the difference. I use these a lot. I love them. All right, enough of the Lost Lagoon for now. And I'll do some Orchid Oasis. This one is darker, so I'm just going to have to be a little more careful with this one. Not careful enough, apparently. I've got a blob there. I do plan on excuse me, I do plan on adding a fair bit of color, so I'll just make sure I add enough that that doesn't look horrid. Now, as I mentioned, the embossing is resisting the ink, but some of it is over top of the embossing. So we'll have to give that a wipe with a paper towel so that it doesn't come off in the fingers of your recipient of the card. And this is still the Orchid Oasis. And I will be adding the Starry Sky onto the flowers. Last one is Starry Sky. And I do use a different brush for each one. This is quite dark. This does go really well with the Orchid Oasis. They're very much the same, I don't know the correct art word, tones, I would say. They go nicely together. The Starry Sky is quite a strong color. Just want to add a little bit more so I can actually see the difference between the Orchid Oasis and the Starry Sky. You see what I mean? You can see those leaves and how the leaves have color on them. And once I wipe them with a paper towel, that will just about all come off, and the flowers will be more defined because then that outline will be more of a white. Okay, I think that's enough of that one. Add a little bit more of the Orchid Oasis. Try and even out that blotch here. And a tiny bit more of the Lost Lagoon. You can make this much more subtle if you like. I kind of like the bright colors, but it's really pretty done with much lighter colors as well. All right, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so that piece of cardstock was 4 inches by 5 1/4. I keep saying I'm going to be on top of these labels at some point. I just get so excited with working on it, but I forgot. All right, so you can see I've got a fairly clean paper towel here, and if I wipe this off, some of the color does stay, but most of it comes off, and I think that it looks, it shows up the flowers more, it shows up the embossing more. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of texture here with the texture dots. This is from the same stamp set. And I'm going to add a little bit of Versamark. And I am going to be putting a sentiment up in the top right corner, so I'll sort of avoid that. And I want to turn my stamp a little bit so it doesn't look all the same. Now this is going to add just a little bit of shine to that because it's clear, so it will look like the color underneath. What you can also do, which is really kind of gives a really cool effect, is if you put one of the colors on, for example, I could have put just the Lost Lagoon sort of everywhere and then add a bit more of the embossing powder over top. I've got a little bit more embossing powder there than I want to, because that's what happens if you don't use your embossing buddy. That embossing buddy comes in a really nice set. It comes with a tray, tweezers, a brush, and the embossing buddy. Okay. And we'll set that with the heat tool again. Okay, so I think this will be hard to see on camera, but that gives you a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a clear. It almost looks like drops of water on top. And I can see I've missed, I'm heating and setting one part there. All right. Next, what I want is a piece of cardstock. This is white again, and this is 3 1/2 by 2 1/2. Nope, that's not right. Sorry. Wrong one. It is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to adhere that onto that white layer. With my seal. And then I am going to take an 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 piece of Orchid Oasis scored at 4 1/4. And I'm going to add that card front onto the card base. Trying to center that as best I can. And then I need a piece of basic white cardstock that is 3 1/2 inches wide by 2 1/2 inches tall. Let me get more of that embossing powder out of my way. And I'm going to use the Starry Sky ink for the sentiment. The sentiment is also from Irresistible Blooms. And I'm just going to put this onto my grid sheet and make it as straight as I can, just sort of eyeballing it, and then get my block. And then if I've done it properly. This label is actually on a little bit crooked. So I'll just check it, lining up with the grid paper. And that looks like it's uphill a tad. I'm just going to take my paper and aim it downhill just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Nested Essentials dies. This is a really great set of dies. It's got 4 rounded rectangles, 4 banners, and 4 hexagons. So I'm going to use the hexagon for this one. I'm actually going to be cutting it off a little bit on the left side because I didn't want a label quite that large. So I'm going to slide the banner, the hexagon as far to the left as I can, and centering from top to bottom and hoping that I have it straight. I have been told that if you turn things 90 degrees, you can tell better if they are straight or not. And I'm just going to get my mini Stampin' cut and emboss machine. This is a great machine. I actually take it camping with me. Sometimes I take the big one as well. And then I'm going to trim that off just a little bit with my little trimmer. And I want it close to the left-hand edge. I just want to make sure that I'm cutting it parallel to the right edge. Okay. And I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of that. I will often use the mini dimensionals more than the large ones, depending on what it is that I'm dimensionalizing, as my grandson said. And I find the minis, because there's more of them in a package, they go a lot further. And so if it's just something small that I'm doing, like a label like this, I will just use the minis. If I was putting on a larger layer, of course, I would use the bigger ones or a combination. I'm going to back up for a minute because I did not tell you. This is the second smallest of the hexagons in the Nested Essentials dies. And I'm just going to pop that over to the left edge even with the white layer. And the last thing I'm going to do with this is to add 3 faceted gems trios. These come in Smoky Slate, White, and Lost Lagoon. I tried the Lost Lagoon on this, but I kind of preferred the white, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'll put 2 in the centers of the flowers. And I'll put 1 up on the label. And there we go. I love doing a blended background. If you've followed my YouTube videos or subscribed, which by the way, please do if you like my cards and you like the techniques. You could do this with any colors. Just pick 3 colors that go nicely together, and you can use it with various stamp sets. This one works quite well because it's more of an outline stamp than filled in, though you'll see if they're filled in like the leaves, you would still get an effect, especially if they have like the veins of the leaf in there. So I hope that you like that technique. It's kind of a fun one to try. As I mentioned, you can use it with all sorts of different stamp sets. The technique will work the same with the blending brushes And you can try different colors of ink as well. And just a final comparison to those two cards that I did one earlier with just a lot more color added. And do be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos, and you can subscribe below. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed that technique and that you will give it a try and join me again. I'd love to see you back. Leave a comment below if you like which of these two you like better. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you again next time. Bye-bye.